It's the world. I'm in PE World. This is what the new NFL 2K22 game will look like. If you know, you know. I
With
ain't gonna get
Take-Two
into it.
Interactive and the NFL now back in business together, as announced around this time last year, people have been wondering what the new NFL 2K game is going to look like.
We
I've
waiting.
talked about this a couple of times on the channel last year, but with the release date getting closer, people have been asking more than ever about what is to be expected. What
Facts.
type of game will it be? What features will it have? Is it even still releasing this year after all of the setbacks the world has been affected by since the initial game announcement?
Yeah,
I'm
what's
here
the
to answer
news?
all of that in this video. Welcome back to the channel, everybody. It's Eric Rayweather here, and if you want to stay up to date on the new NFL 2K game or Madden 22 news, make sure to subscribe, turn the bell icon on so that you never miss any of these important uploads when they go live. We're going to be getting tons of news over the next few months for both games, and I plan to keep you guys updated every single step of the way. Now, one thing that confused many people shortly after the announcement that 2K was back in business with the NFL to make an officially licensed football game was that the NFL renewed their exclusive deal with EA Sports through the year 2025 and possibly
Fuck,
even
man. I'm tired of
2026
EA
if
having the
financial
rights.
incentives are met. It's important to note that the deal between the NFL and EA Sports is only exclusive for simulation football, meaning arcade-style football games can still be created by other companies who have a licensing deal with the NFL, like 2K now does. When 2K initially announced that they were back in business with the NFL, it was reported that the deal was for arcade-style games. Not just a single game, multiple games, the first of which is set to be released this year. But more on the release date a little bit later in the video. Now, right off the bat, a lot of
What
people
the
are turned off when they hear arcade-style
Is that
football.
backyard football?
It's not that arcade football games aren't fun.
What the fuck is
they
this shit?
are, and they certainly have their place. But what people want from 2K is NFL 2K5 or All-Pro Football 2K8.
Facts.
What they remember 2K football as. Most people want 2K back in the football space because they feel EA Sports hasn't done a good job with simulation football over the past decade.
That's a
but
fact.
just because the new 2K game will be arcade style, that doesn't necessarily mean it will be bad or even blur the lines between simulation and arcade.
I still think they're gonna do their thing regardless if it's arcade style or not. You know what I'm saying? But, bro, like, if they were able to do more like a simulator style game, it would definitely shit on it. But this all pro football right here, this was more arcade style too. So if it is something like this, I wouldn't even be mad at that either.
A lot of people have mentioned All-Pro Football 2K8 as being a possible template for the new 2K game.
Yeah.
2K8 wasn't marketed as a simulation game and obviously didn't have real teams or current players, but it was still simulation style from a gameplay perspective. When it comes to exclusive simulation rights, that goes beyond just players and teams, which we already know 2K has the rights to use. Their deal with the NFL allows them to use team names, logos, and stadiums, while their other deal with the NFLPA allows them rights to use current players' name and likeness. So the theory that the new game will be like All-Pro Football 2K8 just doesn't add up, because if you put real teams and players into that game, it's a simulation style game. The gameplay is meant to replicate real football. Now many will say, well, EA Sports doesn't replicate real football well. Regardless of whether or not you believe they are successful at recreating the game we all love, their game is still attempting to do so. It's 11-on-11 football with real NFL rules, real plays, real player models, and attempts to have real player movement and interactions. Whereas an arcade-style game is usually something like 7-on-7, with the rules being bent a little or even a lot, bigger player models, and usually involves
NFL,
crazier interactions like big
Streets
hits
right
where
here.
players go flying. So with that said, what exactly should you expect from the new NFL 2K game? I think there's multiple ways 2K can go with this game, and they've already said they're going to be creating multiple games, so they aren't just going to give us one type of experience. The first game is still set to be released this year. It has been confirmed a while back that they will be ready to launch the first game in 2021, and it'll more than likely be around the time that the new NFL season starts, much like how Madden is released. 2K said they plan to do what they've always been known for: deliver an authentic and deep experience, and also have those new games be social experiences as well. Now, if you look at the games 2K has made and invested in lately, you have a good idea at what one of their new games will look like. But if you look at their flagship title, NBA 2K, well, you have a whole nother idea. The question is, which game will they drop first? Today's video is sponsored by Fubo TV. Look, if you're one of the 80 million Americans who are fed up with paying high cable prices and dealing with 100 of your favorite on ESPN, favorite games, minutes to set, free trial, Fubo.com, month of Fubo.
Damn.
The super arcadey NFL game. 2K has said that they believe there is a market for these types of games and that the NFL audience has been missing out on it. If you noticed over the past couple years, They brought NBA Playgrounds and rebranded it.
Never
they
played
released
that.
the second version of the game under the name NBA 2K Playgrounds 2. If you've played this game, you know it's tons of fun. It's like NBA Jam meets NBA Street.
Y'all ever played this? Let me know in the comments, man.
Play with your buddies or in an online game when you're not trying to take your gaming too seriously.
I never gave this a shot.
The replayability of the game isn't the greatest. Once you put so many hours into it, you feel like you've experienced it all. 2K then went on to release WWE Battlegrounds, which is the wrestling version of the same game. It's very over the top, it has huge character models, players fly in the air and throw fire, and all the typical stuff you'd expect in an arcade-style game. Again, is the game fun? Yes, but it gets old quicker than a more serious game. Now, there's no doubt in my mind we're going to get an NFL version of these games. We're getting NFL Playgrounds, and I don't think that's a bad thing. I think it'll be a lot of fun, but for how long? It just makes sense for 2K to add this to their portfolio since they've already done it with their other two major sports licenses.
Yeah, let's go.
The second type of arcade game, however, could blur the lines between simulation and arcade, and I think it makes sense for 2K to come out of the gate with this type of game instead. You can release the super over-the-top arcade game anytime. That audience will always be there for that. But this other game, you need to come out swinging with in order to get people excited about 2K.
That's a fact. They gotta come
you have
with
some
decent
starving
shit.
for a 2K football game since the 2000s. There's a bunch of people who have given up on Madden, or there's just people that want a different game in the marketplace to play as well. If you come out with your first game and it's mainly just aimed at kids, you're gonna lose some of that momentum and hype that has been created with the announcement that you're coming back. So the second type of game would be something similar to the park in NBA 2K, but with some extras. We already know they're good at creating the park or street environment within their games, and they did say that they want the games to be authentic, deep, and social. This all screams park or NFL street to me. And I think EA Sports knows this too, which might be a reason you saw the Yard make its debut in Madden this year.
Facts.
Maybe it was already in the works, but I always found it a little odd that it wasn't announced officially until right before the game.
See, I was wondering that too, because whenever they did first make that announcement, boom, Madden gonna come out with the Yard mode. And I feel like they was definitely trying to do that to deflect the fact that, you know, 2K was coming soon with a probably a street type game. And they gonna do the damn thing with it too, bro. Trust me.
Normally, that's something you'd want to market early and often, since it's a big addition and something many people have been asking for. Maybe the timing was just a coincidence, but maybe not.
Nah, that ain't no
Either way,
damn coincidence.
An NFL Street / My Park type of game seems to be where 2K would make the most noise. This could give you a game that meets somewhere in the middle. It's not too over the top, but it still has some of those elements. And you could easily tack on other modes to this, like a franchise mode, for example. That's where depth comes into play. No, it won't be like an NFL franchise mode, but you could create a mode where you run a franchise or a league. You can sign players, trade players, create stadiums, train players, and all the other good stuff. It's just not going to be exactly like the NFL. You'll still have teams and players, but the gameplay will be a little less simulation. You'll still have the street or park feel as well, where maybe you create your own character and you can play versus players and their created characters. But aside from all that, the biggest thing here is that 2K is finally back making NFL games. They may not be allowed to make a true simulation game as of right now, but if these new games are successful, and they probably will be just off of their brand alone, then things might change when it comes time to renew the exclusive NFL simulation license in a few years. After the backlash that Madden 21 received, the NFL had to take notice of that, and if 2K proves they can be successful with arcade-style games, that might make the NFL open the sim license back up when the time comes. The NFL cares about making money, and I'm sure they would make more money with multiple companies competing in the marketplace. Now, currently, yes, EA makes them a lot of money.
Look how much better this looked than Madden already.
Press they've been receiving. So a few things could happen here. EA knowing this and understanding that 2K has their foot back in the door might now be forced to put more effort into their game. While the 2K games aren't direct competition, you better believe EA is still looking at them that way. So we either start getting better Madden games, or eventually we get 2K simulation games, or maybe even both in a perfect world. I'm excited to see what 2K does, and if you want to stay up to date, make sure you subscribe and turn the bell icon on so that you always know what's going on with the latest 2K game. It's important for this game to be successful in order to make football gaming better as a whole, and I plan to support.
Shit, we waiting, man. I need 2K to step up, man. You know what I'm saying? As far as this football shit go, bro. Because 2K5 was and still is the greatest football game in the past 20. Nah, shit, damn. Yeah, past 20 years, you know what I'm saying? And then I need Live to come back into the game with NBA Live too, you know what I'm saying? Both of these, you know, sports need a different developer because they're both fucking up. 2K, we're tired of 2K. We want some Live for a little bit. and we're tired of Madden. We want some 2K, bro. It's crazy how it's just opposites like that. But yeah, we just waiting, man. Until next time, it's the word.